Our area of study is self-talk. That is what we've done our research on and based our session plan around. This is done by myself, Charlie Bell, Adam French, and Josh Smith. So to start things off, what actually is self-talk? So studies show from Theodorakis in the year 2000, he states how self-talk is all about what people say to themselves, either out loud or a small voice inside of their head. So taking this into a more sporting example, it's all about the thought process going on inside your head during a game situation, for example. But this can be both positive and negative, and depending on what you're saying to yourself, it can play a massive effect on your confidence. So, for example, linking it to basketball, say one team has a free throw. If the person taking the free throw then misses all three shots, their confidence is probably going to drop, but depending on their levels of self-talk and how well they're able to maintain a high confidence, it will then have a massive effect on their game. So, for example, if they're beating themselves up and they're using the negative side of self-talk, they're then going to be like, if they get another free throw, they're going to be overthinking. They're going to be thinking about, oh no, last time I missed the three, I don't think I feel confident to actually then take this free. Whereas someone who has a very good self-talk and is positive with their self-talk, they may be like, I missed the first free, yep, but I'm going to take this opportunity again to show what I can do. That was a one-off. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to score this free throw, and then I'm going to help my team throughout the rest of the game. So, furthermore, studies from Britton W. Brewer in 2009 say how elite athletes have stated how the development and maintenance of confidence is one of their biggest needs in mental training. So, what this basically means is how if an athlete doesn't have confidence going into a game situation, they are not going to be giving an optimum performance. And this is for all athletes. So, for example, if we link it to football this time, if it goes to penalties, how a player will react if they get chosen to take a penalty is very, very, very important. So, for example, if they go up to take a penalty kick with a low confidence, they're going to be overthinking everything. So they're going to step up to the penalty and they'll be thinking about which way should I put it? What way is the keeper going to go? Do I kick it with power? Do I go for accuracy? And all these things adding up, playing up in their head, is just causing more of a distraction and means that they're not focusing on the main outcome of just getting the ball into the back of the net. And then this is what causes mistakes. So, for example, if they then miss the penalty, their confidence is going to be an all-time low, and that's when they'll need a lot of mental training to then help them get back onto the level that they should be at. Furthermore, this is also where self-talk, the training of it, and how the mental training is so important. So, for example, if someone has been taught very well and been given lots of training on mental training, their self-talk is going to be very good. So, for example, they're walking up to the penalty kick, they're going to be telling themselves, I've got this. I know exactly where I'm going, I know exactly what technique I'm doing. The keeper's not going to save it. So it just shows the difference in how having that training can really affect a player and really can affect an outcome of a game.
Positive self-talk is one side of self-talk within sport. A few examples of positive self-talk in sport include a goalkeeper, after saving a penalty, talking to himself in a positive manner by saying a amount of things such as, oh, I'm doing really well, I'm performing, and I'm helping my team really well, and I'm doing good. Some benefits of positive self-talk include decreasing anxiety, improved concentration, improved focus, and overall better performance. However, findings from Wood show that participants with low self-esteem felt worse when using self-talk. This can be a negative aspect of self-talk, as these said athletes may feel worse for using self-talk. However, overall positive self-talk can improve an athlete's performance, as it will focus more on the game and improve their concentration. This will help them focus in the game, as they will be able to focus on tiny little details that help their performance within a match. On the other side of self-talk is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is all around players talking to themselves in a negative matter. For example, let's say when a goalkeeper concedes a penalty, they'll talk to themselves in a negative way, saying things such as, "Oh, I'm really bad," "Oh, I can't do this," and I'm not performing to where I could be. Another example is when a tennis player concedes a point after hitting the ball out of bounds. They may say to themselves that, "Oh my god, I'm not doing as well, I've got all this weight and I'm not performing to where I could be." The effects of negative self-talk include increased anxiety, change in motivational levels, and increased stress. All these effects can impact a player's performance, thus making these effects even worse as they believe they aren't performing to a high enough standard. Increased anxiety can affect an athlete's performance. Being anxious during games and training sessions can impact a player's performance, as it can affect their fear of failure and risk of injury. Findings from Korea 2018 showed that fear of failure and anxiety are linked. Korea used a scale test of 405 Portuguese athletes, of which 40% of participated in individual sports and the rest in team sports. These athletes were measured to show how strongly they believed each of 14 aversive consequences of failure, which were likely to happen after failing. Results of the test concluded with a positive link between failure in sports and the player's anxiety. Increased fear of failure can affect an athlete in a game, as for example, a goalkeeper may not want to rush out when 1v1 with a striker because of fear of getting a red card if they foul the player. Another example is the centre in basketball. A centre in basketball may not jump up to attempt to block another player because of fear of receiving the foul or even fouling out during a game. This can affect their performance as they're not even allowed to play if they're fouled out or given a red card as a goalkeeper. Findings from Jessica in 2017 show that anxiety in a sports situation can increase an athlete's risk of injury. When an athlete is placed in a stressful environment, a stress response will activate. The stress response affects the psychological attentional aspects of the body. This includes increased muscle tension, narrowing field of visual field, and increased distractibility. The stress response can either cause an athlete to increase or decrease their potential risk of injury. Negative self-talk can affect an athlete's motivational levels in negative and positive ways. Athletes talking to themselves in a negative way can affect their motivational levels, as they feel less motivated to participate as they may listen to the crowd or believe they are not good enough. However, on the opposite end of this spectrum, this may motivate them as they talk to themselves in a negative way. They can see that they are not actually as bad as they think they are. Negative self-talk sounds bad. However, studies from Kim Jung-young, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, show how negative self-talk can in fact have a massive benefit to cognitive performance compared to positive self-talk. Findings from Broja showed through a survey that runners' perceived stress would be related to greater use of negative self-talk. This basketball session will be based around shooting free throws and then reflecting on the shot by using either positive or negative self-talk depending on the participant's performance within the drill. This drill will aim to improve our participants' ability to use self-talk during training sessions and game situations. The equipment needed for the drill includes one basketball hoop, one red cone, and one green cone. The setup of the drill will have the participant starting behind the free throw line with the basketball. The participant will then attempt to shoot the ball from the free throw line 3 separate times. The participant cannot step over the line and shoot the ball, however, they can choose to jump if they want to. After taking the 3 shots, the participant will move to one of the cones depending if they thought they did well or not. A participant will go to the green cone if they thought they did well, and to the red cone if they thought they did not do well. If the participant is at the green cone, they'll say something positive. If the participant is at the red cone, they'll say something negative about their performance. They can choose to say it out loud or to themselves in their head. Using self-talk during a drill will train the participant to utilise self-talk during training sessions, as they will be basing the self-talk off their own individual performance. Completing this drill and using the positive and negative self-talk will allow them to obviously use it during training sessions because they're based off their own performance, and it gets them used to just using it in a negative or positive manner when they do something well or not. After the participant has done the self-talk session of the drill, they'll complete the drill again. They'll complete the drill in the same way by taking another 3 shots from the free throw line and going through the process of either going to the red or green cone depending on their performance one more time. This time, they can choose to use a self-talk to compare the performance between the first attempt of the drill and the second attempt.
Another one of our topics is regression and progression. We will start off with regression. Regression is where you decrease the difficulty and break down the drill into smaller and easier sections. This is to allow the players to understand each move as it simplifies skills, which then allows you to build up and make all your skills better. Regression also helps with positive self-talk, which can also turn into confidence boosting. For instance, in basketball, when taking free throws, if you are struggling, you can regress this drill by moving closer to the hoop. Once you've moved closer to the hoop, if you keep practicing from there and feel more confident, you can always then move back. As regression makes drills easier, it gives you a higher chance of success, allowing you to think more positive about your skill assets. Regression is very helpful in other sports other than basketball. Another sport which it's key in is football. A topic in football that you can use regression is penalty taking. Penalty taking is important in football games as there's quite a likelihood of happening in a game. Penalty is where it's a one-on-one, one kick against a goalkeeper and you've got to try and score. To make penalty kicks easier, you can remove the goalkeeper and practice your accuracy on the goal to allow more confidence and skills. So when the goalkeeper's not there, you can practice your aim, kicking the ball in each four corners of the goal to really improve your skills before you kick it against a goalkeeper. With regression, you can split your skills into smaller groups and allow you to focus on a smaller skill asset to overall build your confidence up. If you're focusing on smaller parts of a sport, it allows you to really feel confident in smaller parts to then bring them all together in the end to be an overall better athlete. With regression, it keeps you more engaged as you're having more success. When you have more success, you're going to feel more positive about your skills. As regression simplifies what you're doing in sport, it allows you to be a lot more confident in what you're doing. Being confident in sport is very important as it allows you to stay focused and feel better than the opponents. If you feel confident and that you can do better in your sport, you're going to overall see improvements in your games. We are now going to move on to the next topic, which is progression. Progression is where you increase the difficulty or skill level of the drills and training. Making them harder is helpful as it allows you to find your maximum potential in the sport you are playing. You are using progression to enhance your skills and confidence as a player. Regression may be frustrating at times, but repeating the same drill over and over can allow you to learn high-level skills which you can use at a higher level. An example of progression is in a basketball game. Instead of taking free throws on repeat or taking 3-pointers from the same spot, you can constantly be moving around the court and taking 3-pointer shots from different angles. This will allow you to find and spot different areas and your weak spots of the court, which you may need to practice. This will allow you to memorise the skills, and it will give you the ability to take shots from anywhere on the court during a match. Self-evaluation comes under progression. This is where you have the understanding and knowing your errors in a game. For instance, if you miss a shot in basketball, you evaluate what you did wrong and why you didn't score, and then you can also improve on what went wrong. This is when progression comes in and breaks the practice down and repeat over and over to improve your skills. This also in turn boosts your confidence and allows you to find capabilities that you may not thought you had. It also allows you to increase stamina and fitness, as if you're doing a difficult task, it may take you a while as you're constantly using your fitness levels to partake in the skill you're trying to learn. Progression helps you test out your maximum ability as it puts yourself in difficult scenarios in sports. Putting yourself in difficult scenarios in sports can allow you to find your best outcome and what to do. Making drills harder brings in a competitive aspect as you are aiming to do something you may not have done before in your sport. Because a drill may be difficult, this means it you will have to increase your focus and allow you to get the best outcome possible in your game. Being able to notice your negative aspects and skills in the sport helps you to evaluate and turn progression and your skills into an overall better sportsman. Just like regression, you can cut down the skills you're trying to learn into smaller segments. Overloading on a certain skill point intensifies and can lead to benefits in performance as a player to get fitter. A good example of this is running. If you are consistently able to run 5 kilometers, you can progress this by pushing yourself to do a longer distance and also try decrease the amount of time you have to run the 5 kilometers. Progression is important as a player or athlete becomes better and better. This is due to an overload needing to be bigger and more intense to the change in performance as they get fitter and fitter. To progress in a run, you can extend the distance, so go from running 5 kilometers to 7. If you time yourself running the 5 kilometers, you can then set a goal for when running the 7 kilometers. You can do this by setting a really difficult goal, which makes you try harder and harder and intensify your session for you to become an overall better athlete.
So, what does this session plan actually achieve? So by the end of this session plan, we want our athletes to be able to feel confident, to just take that minute to talk to themselves and reflect on how they feel that they have performed. So this could be at any time during the game, after a game. We just want them to be able to feel the confidence of actually being able to just take that minute alone to just self-reflect and see how they think they've actually done. And then with this information, it will then all be about how they act after, how they take this information and then implement it into the next game. So how they're going to then improve and then challenge themselves without feeling down and ready to quit. How they're going to use this information to then, in the next game, do something different, for example. So at the end of each session, what we're going to want to do is give out a worksheet that you can see here on the right. This will then mean that as coaches, we get to see how the athlete's feeling, not just during a game and what they tell us. We get to see how their emotions change the night before, for example, the morning of, hour before, in the changing room, just before the game. And this will then give us a really good indication of their mental state and how they're able to use self-talk to either push them in a positive way or if it pulls them down in a negative way. And based on this information, we can then create more session plans on how to use self-talk in a positive way and how it doesn't always have to be in game situations. So, for example, we can even just have like a Zoom call, for example, the night before a game, talk for a load of things, and then after the call, how are they going to then use that information to think about the game? How can they then go away and talk themselves into a game-headed mind and get ready for the challenge ahead?